Connecticut School of Broadcasting founder Dick Robinson.
You know, the media business has changed a lot since we opened our doors in 1964. Now media content is everywhere, on air, online, on the go. More than ever, companies are looking for people to help drive this new media.
At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, you'll get hands-on training on the latest software and equipment in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has placed thousands of grads in broadcast media careers.
It's all about versatility. You see, at a radio station, if you also know how to shoot, edit, and post videos, you become a pretty hot commodity. That's the training you get at Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting with locations up and down the East Coast from Massachusetts to Miami. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com. Connecticut School of Broadcasting, the nation's oldest and largest group of broadcast media schools, redefining training in radio, TV, and new media. Get trained. Get connected. 1-800-TV-RADIO.
Live from Studio C at the Cherry Hill campus for the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, it's All Noise Radio's Sports Talk with the
Goes Frazier! He scores! High fly ball into right field. She is gone!
Welcome back, everyone. Sports Talk with here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. As always, you can chime in, send me a message on my Facebook at Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi, my page. Send me a message, or you can join me in on the conversation. Call me in here in the studio, 856-330-4749. We have much to talk about, so we will get right there, right to it, with the announcement coming yesterday that Aaron Hernandez was released by the Patriots. And what that means for the Patriots, we will have our Boston insider later on in the show coming on to discuss what this how this bodes for the Patriots, for their future, what it means for them, and, of course, what it means for the NFL. What does this mean for the future, possibly, of the NFL, and how the league deals with their own players in terms of their players having been accused of being involved with a crime? That will be discussed a little later on, but first we have to talk about things that have occurred the last few days in terms of championships, in terms of sports, that being the Stanley Cup and the NBA Finals. Firstly, the Stanley Cup, when you look at where things went, where they were going for the Chicago Blackhawks, already in the third round against the Los Angeles Kings, they were down a couple, and it was as if the entire city of Chicago got together collectively and finally got through to the coaching staff of the Blackhawks. They told Joel Quenneville, for all intents and purposes, put your captain Jonathan Toews and our sharpshooter Patrick Sharp on the same line. Instead of dividing and conquering through his lines for all of his top scorers, they wanted Quenneville to go top-heavy and put as many pieces that he could on the same line. And finally, once that actually happened, you can look and see how Chicago's tide had turned in their favor. We all know the type of team that Chicago has, especially the entire regular season. They started off their season with having a point in their first 24 games, winning 21 of those, and losing 3 in overtime without a regulation loss, an NHL record. 24 straight games to open up a season. They finished the President's Trophy winner, and they find themselves at that point in the Stanley Cup Finals against the Boston Bruins, who also had to deal with their own adversity. What turned the Cup playoffs in the favor for the Chicago Blackhawks was this decision by Joel Quenneville to put his captain and to put his captain Jonathan Toews and Patrick Sharp on the same line. That's it. Pure, plain, and simple. You could also point to the goaltending by Corey Crawford in the Stanley Cup playoffs as being phenomenal. Arguable that he should have won the Conn Smythe, but Patrick Kane won the Conn Smythe. What he did for the Blackhawks this postseason was unmatched by any other player, considering that he was the playoff MVP with 19 points over their playoff appearance and performances. The Bruins themselves, we have to think about the city of Boston as a city of Boston as a community, and what happened to Boston now that they lost the playoffs, that they lost the Stanley Cup in the final round. At this point, you think of all the other teams, right? Before 2001, all you heard from Boston fans was, "Oh, Bucky did this. Oh, Bill Buckner that. Oh, too many men on the ice. Oh, Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl there. Desmond Howard, the return. Babe Ruth, of course." It was as if all Boston fans could do was join the Chicago Cubs fans and lament of all the could-have-beens. Coulda, shoulda, woulda, but obviously wasn't. And then came 2001 and the Patriots' miracle run to upend the defending Stanley Cup, the defending Super Bowl champion St. Louis Rams. And from there, that started the turn of events for all Boston area professional sports teams. You had the Bruins won, the Celtics won, the Patriots won a couple, and the Boston Red Sox also won a couple of championships. So no other fan in the United States is going to lament that the Boston Bruins didn't win the Stanley Cup this year. That's for sure. But one thing that the Boston fan base now can understand beyond that any other fan, that 28 other teams would in a heartbeat swap places with the Boston Bruins and make it all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals and lose in 6 games to the best team in the NHL, is that they now can reflect on what happened a few months ago. April 15th, Boston Marathon, a day that's going to live in infamy in Boston itself. At this point right now, the Bruins, Boston, for them, the most important point that is being brought out, from the way the city, the team, everybody came together to realize that there is more to life than just sports. There is more to life than just playing a game. At the end of the day, that is what sports is. Granted, you get paid absurd amount of dollars to play it, but it's a sport, it's a game at the end of the day. Life is more than just that. And the point that came across from the Bruins, from their fan base, from Boston citizens, the greater Boston metro area, and really up and down the East Coast, spread across the country, was it's not about the position that you finish in sports or in life, but it's about finishing the race. That is the most important thing, the reflection, the ability to now know that it's about finishing. And that's what Boston did. Came back from being down with 3 goals in Game 7 of the first opening round of the playoffs to Toronto with about 10 minutes to go in the game, and ended up winning that game in overtime, pushing them into the second round against the Rangers, who they beat in 5 games, and then played the Sidney Crosby but punchless Pittsburgh Penguins and swept them out of the playoffs to make it to the Stanley Cup round. And what happened because of this emotional roller coaster ride that the Bruins took their fan base along with them is that it allowed their fan base to, in a way, forget about momentarily what was going through their minds and what they were worrying about being in the city of Boston. So, once you have that, it is something that is wonderful and allows you to get away almost for a little bit, to forget your worries, your fears, and to focus on something that you hope becomes and turns successful. Now that it's over, you have healed a little bit, or as best as you can in this short amount of time, and you have gone to a different place. Now that it's over, you can better reflect and be a better person going forward. Other news around the NHL, the Scotiabank Saddledome in Calgary, where the Flames play, completely underwater because of flash floodings and whatnot in and around the greater Calgary, Alberta area. So much so that the owner of the Flames, Ken King, came out on Twitter and said that not to worry, that everything will be ready for the start of the season. Well, I of course begs to wonder what will happen if that doesn't deem possible, that if that's not deemed possible, if that becomes untrue, and the Flames' home is not ready to go for the start of the regular season. Now, we know that had happened a couple years back with the Yankees, where they had one of their support beams in the old Yankee Stadium collapsed, and it caused for the Yankees to play a couple of weeks between then Shea Stadium, the Mets' home, before they moved to Citi Field. So there certainly is a possibility of the Calgary Flames playing in Edmonton. There's a possibility, but it's really far away. So if I was Ken King, I would certainly hope that my words are going to be backed up and they'll ring true, and we'll see what happens then. Again, as always, you can chime in here, facebook.com/Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi, or call in at 856-330-4749 to discuss whatever it is that is on your mind. Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here. I am the Sports Rabbi. We'll be here all hour from 5 to 6. It's going to be a fun time. We're going to have a lot to talk about here on this on this Thursday afternoon, sports-wise. And one of the things now going on with Wimbledon, with the tennis tournament out in England, I think it would be really awesome if this whole Serena Williams, Maria Sharapova Twitter catfight thing going on would just be settled on the court. How awesome would that be? She who wins is deemed triumphant, whoever it is. Whether it's Sharapova, whether it's Serena Williams, it should be a lot of fun to watch, because we've heard one accusing the other of sleeping with somebody who's already married, and the other one accusing somebody else of dating somebody who has no heart, and which only you find out that that guy dated the other one. That's why she's calling her. It's soap opera as it gets. And if you think that this is soap opera, if you think that Wimbledon is soap opera with a couple of women, man, you should see what's going on just around. Like, the other day, I walk into the store, and it's crazy. Suddenly you have these people standing in line, and it seems as if there's this guy who feels as if he has this sense of entitlement. Whatever he wants, he has to get, and he's complaining he doesn't have enough money to pay for it, but it's like the teller should give it to him, the cashier should give it to him for free because he earned it. I don't know how or why. It baffles me sometimes when people think and feel and believe that they're entitled to something just because or just because they did something in the past. I don't know. There's this guy on the Yankees who kind of has that same vibe. Feels he's entitled to everything. However, we'll talk about this when we get back. You're listening to Sports Talk, only on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of...
All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. All Noise Radio is an internet radio station that's fully produced by graduates of the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. From modern rock to old school hip hop, country to classical, news, talk, sports, and more. It's the noise you can't ignore. Log on to allnoiseradio.com. Fire up the station. Find out more about your favorite jocks. Get the latest CSB news and more. Plus, you can take All Noise Radio with you on the go for free. Just download the Live 365 app to your iPhone, iPod Touch, or BlackBerry and search All Noise Radio. Check out tomorrow's broadcasters today at allnoiseradio.com. Powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Welcome back, Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here all hour from 5 to 6 p.m. Brought to you by All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And one thing that really gets me going, it's more so than anything else, and that is people who think and feel that they deserve, that they must have, simply because they go ahead and they have done in the past. Not so much because they've gone and have, are doing something right now, but it's because of things that they've done in the past. But before we get into talking about this, you want to call in, chime in on the radio, chime in on the show, 856-330-4749, or shoot me a message at Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi on my Facebook page. It looks like we have a caller. Caller, you're on the air. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
This is Yogi. I'm calling from New York.
Yogi from New York, welcome to the show. Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here. What is on your mind?
A little bit of everything right now. There's a lot going on in sports. We've got, new Stanley Cup champs.
Right.
Was, If anyone missed that game, I feel sorry for them. It was a great display of some phenomenal hockey.
Yes, certainly that was, and the last time we really saw something like that, you don't have to go so far back in terms of the game. You just have to go back to the first round with Boston also involved, but they were on the other end of that ending. They took out the Toronto Maple Leafs in Game 7 after being down 3 goals with about 10 minutes to go in that Game 7. So they certainly know what it feels like to be on the winning side, but not in terms of a championship. I don't know, the last time that this must have happened for a championship, that in the blink of an eye, with a whisker of a cat, and that it just suddenly changed, it certainly would involve some real good, hard research.
Well, it just shows that even in this salary cap era and everything, you can still build a team on the fly. The core is the same. Everyone else is different. I believe only 8 players left from their 2010 championship.
They had 9 players that came back from their championship that they won 4 years ago, and unconfirmed, but we're probably going to have a member of the Stanley Cup winning Blackhawks on the show next week. We'll let you all know about that a little later on. But in terms of the game, what did you see that changed from the mentality of the Boston Bruins versus the mentality of the Chicago Blackhawks that may have changed the tide?
I think you just had a never-say-die spirit on the side of the Blackhawks. They had a crushing goal, with very little time left, and to just keep grinding it out. I mean, that just shows Andrew Shaw. I mean, stitches. He's getting iced on the bench every time he gets there. There's blood all over the place. Nothing stands in the toughness of hockey players. It's unbelievable.
I think that's the very good point that you make, and that was actually a fantastic viewing. If you saw when he lifted the cup, it's a 21-year-old kid holding the cup up, blood coming down his cheek. I don't think you'll find that in any other sport. But in terms of things, just changing it up a little bit else, in terms of things that you saw, you're in New York, the Jets, Giants, everybody plays down there. What have you heard in terms of Aaron Hernandez with the Patriots, the love-hate relationship that everybody has with the Patriots. What have you heard down there in terms of what they've done, what the Patriots have done, releasing Hernandez after being arrested?
Well, I didn't hear about the release, but that would be expected of the Patriots. It's very typical of them. They are a no-nonsense team, so that wouldn't surprise me. But this is obviously going to be something that's drawn out, but the NFL is becoming the National Drama League. And they're just every off season there's drama. You almost never hear about this from almost any other sport. This kind of drama, and it's some of it's not their fault. I mean, you had one of the Ravens were carjacked the other day, so I mean, some of it's not their fault, but some of it is just it's a little boring during the off season. These guys just can't get out of each other's way.
It's kind of funny to watch how it works with the volunteer OTAs, and then there's like a month off for the players to go home, and that's got to be a coach's worst nightmare, where they just hope and pray that the players don't do anything stupid while they're home for that month before they have to come back for training camp to get ready for the regular season. And we saw it happen down in Louisiana. One of the players on the Eagles was in a high-speed chase with a cop at like 4:30 in the morning with his buddy. They were drag racing, and now with Aaron Hernandez getting involved into a coach's worst nightmare, and now being released by the Patriots. It's maybe the NFL should do away with the volunteer OTAs, or have the volunteer OTAs without there being a really long break, maybe a week as opposed to a month.
Well, the players do need to rest up and everything, and I'm sure players' advocates would probably talk about that a lot. But obviously there needs to be some sort of program, because it's getting pathetic and getting a little boring as a fan to constantly hear. I mean, you don't hear about this kind of stuff with hockey players or basketball players or baseball players. You certainly don't hear it with golf much, except for Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
But it's not fun for the fans to see this kind of stuff.
Well, also what's not fun for the fans is that the New York Yankees have been having a little bit of a drama issue with Brian Cashman, the GM, and Alex Rodriguez, a player that many in the Yankees organization feel that they would be better off without. What are you hearing out in New York?
Well, the only thing I'm seeing right now is much of what's been available to the public right now. So, obviously, the whole Cashman telling A-Rod to just shut his mouth and let the Yankee doctors do everything. A-Rod, I think, is probably one of the most misunderstood players out there. Not to have his back, really, because I think obviously constantly being involved with all this steroid stuff has definitely tainted his record, and he's definitely going to have one of those asterisks next to his name. Could still be a Hall of Famer, but that team needs him. I don't think anyone can say not. Jason Nix and everyone else that's been filling in. Euclid hasn't been the guy that they were hoping he would be. He's barely been on the field. So they need him. So they need him, hopefully without the drama, and hopefully Cashman puts a lid on it with that. But this Yankee team definitely needs him back. They need to get healthy. Teixeira's obviously not there. Jeter is not going to give you any power. They need his bat. Whether it's going to be for 14 more home runs for the rest of the season or whatever it is, a healthy A-Rod is a huge, huge boost to the Yankees, and his bat is very important, even though he has not been great in the playoffs.
But right now, you're not going to get a healthy A-Rod at all. You're at best going to get an above average for a third baseman. And the question is that really what the Yankees are willing to pay for the price tag that he comes, versus trying to dump him, maybe eat some of his contract, and trade him away? So that's something certainly, and Yogi, we appreciate the phone call. That's something certainly that the Yankees are going to have to figure out for themselves. If they're willing to stick it out with A-Rod for the next couple of years till his contract is over, or just try to get rid of him some way, somehow, and see what happens there. But one of these things that I was alluding to at the start of this, right after we came back from commercial break, was how I cannot stand when somebody just feels like they really should be getting something, that they're entitled to whatever it is that they feel. I mean, how often do you walk in? How often does like your kid, right? You got a teenage son. How often does he feel like he's entitled to something but deserves something because that's just it? He did something, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and he's still harping on that. Hey, Mom, hey, Dad, I need this and this because I did that thing, 2 weeks ago that you asked me to do. Well, of course you did. It's because we asked you. We, the parents, asked you to do it. That's why you did it. It's nothing to do with the fact that now you're entitled to God knows what because of that. So, in terms of the Yankees here with A-Rod, he feels he's entitled to come back and play. I mean, yeah, you're under contract, but that doesn't mean you open up your mouth. And I know there are going to be people who will argue and say, oh, well, A-Rod never... or rather, the Yankees didn't announce that A-Rod needed surgery. It was A-Rod who announced it. The Yankees didn't announce that A-Rod, when his surgery date was going to be on his hip in January. That the Yankees didn't announce the recovery reports that it was all A-Rod. But you have to understand that A-Rod is just a player, a good player, one of the greatest players before he started with all these injuries and all these, shall we say, dark, shadow-like characters who he was involved with for possibly taking drugs or for taking drugs as it came out in the Mitchell report. But he is a player at the end of the day. Players need to shut their mouths or their mouths will be shut for them. I'm not big for player advocacy of, oh, they should feel free to just talk and do as they feel so please and do and however. That's not how it should be. No. The way it should be is that the players, you come to work, you do your job, you get paid, and you get paid very well. Media asks you a question, you have to have the sound judgment to then decide if it will benefit the team for you to give a true, honest answer, or you should just kind of try to beat around the bush. Certainly, if the media never even prompted you to say or do anything, then don't. Keep your mouth shut. Let the team do the talking for you. That's the reason why the team has a PR department. It's not for the players to bypass and go straight to the media to air out their dirty laundry or to keep the public updated. Like Cashman said in his statement that A-Rod needs to just shut his mouth. Granted, there was an expletive thrown in there. But A-Rod needs to keep his mouth zipped. The Yankees, if the Yankees have something to announce, they will announce it. They don't need the players to announce it for them. They don't need extra attention for no reason. I mean, this really, Cashman and the Yankees would rather see A-Rod just keep his mouth shut, be suspended for the year because of his whole Miami clinic ties, and rather than pay him the $9 million that he would collect if he starts playing in July. But he's going to play, and the soap opera of Reggie Jackson and Billy Martin back in the late 70s will kind of return in this new and improved format of he said, she said between Cashman and A-Rod. Should be fun. Should be a lot of fun to watch what happens up there in New York with the Yankees organization. And we'll see what happens. Because at the end of the day, this is a Steinbrenner-owned, Steinbrenner-ran organization. They don't take a lot of crap. And we'll see what happens there. You're listening to Sports Talk on All Noise Radio. We'll be right back.
Connecticut School of Broadcasting has helped place thousands of people, just like you, in exciting careers in radio, television, and the new media. At Connecticut School of Broadcasting, our hands-on approach is different. It's designed to have you spend less time in the classroom and more time in the studios. From the first day, you'll work with state-of-the-art equipment. Learn by doing from our team of industry professionals who come from their studios to ours. The best part about it, you'll learn it all in a matter of months, not years. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. So do what I did. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO. Step into the fast-paced world of the broadcast media. Day and evening classes begin soon. Connecticut School of Broadcasting. Get trained and get connected now. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And before we get on into any other topics, we have the pleasure to bring on with us to the show our very own Boston area insider and author, I could stumble on that one, author of the very awesome children's and adults book alike, Modern Day Maccabees. We bring on Andrew Gershman. Andy, how are you?
Doing well, yes. How are you?
Very good, very good. We're here. We obviously have known over the last day or so everything that has been going on in New England, from the fact that Doc Rivers is now in L.A. and that his former players can't join him for at least a year in L.A., as per David Stern. Also, what's going on with the Patriots? I mean, Aaron Hernandez, we heard what happened almost a week and a half ago with this, his involvement in this supposed homicide of apparently an acquaintance, a friend of his. Cops all swarming his house. Now he's arrested. And shortly after he got arrested, he gets booted off the team. I mean, where do the Patriots go from here?
Well, I think, it's interesting that the Patriots made such a quick decision to release him. A lot of people are talking about the Patriot way. I guess that follows in what they like to put out as the Patriot way. He was asked to leave the Patriots facility last week, I think 2 days after the initial reports of the murder investigation came out. He showed up and, the Patriots put out a statement and said, we don't really know why he was at our facilities. Our coaches aren't here. Our other players aren't here. It's just front office personnel. He has no reason to be here. So I think they kind of set the tone early that they were going to distance themselves from him. And now, I don't know if it was minutes, hours after the arrest, he is released. He becomes a unrestricted free agent once he clears waivers at 4 o'clock. But more importantly, to your question, now you've got questions. The top 5 receivers from last year are either gone or, in Gronkowski's case, who knows the future? He says he'll play opening day, but we'll have to see.
Well, when you look at what has happened with Tom Brady in the past years, I mean, he's gone through change. He's gone through personnel not being the same from year to year. But this, even if Gronkowski does come back on opening day, this is going to be the largest change he has ever gone through. And at 36 years old, playing with the Patriots under Bill Belichick, how is that going to affect him?
Right, because he's always had that security blanket player. It's been Wes Welker the past few years. It was Troy Brown going back to his early years. He's always had that guy that kind of, whenever he got out of sorts or something, he could always dump off a short pass, get going with. Now, I mean, he's looking at Danny Amendola as his prime receiver, a guy that he'll, just meet in the off season here. Amendola would have ranked 4th last year on the Patriots receiving corps as far as catches and yards. But and he's been said to be the poor man's Wes Welker. But again, he has, no security blanket at all. And so it's going to make, for an interesting transition. I mean, even some of the guys, running backs like Woodhead, who used to, come out of the backfield, he, another guy that's gone to San Diego. So, are we going to see a more Stephen Ridley, centric offense? I mean, it's hard to imagine an offense that doesn't revolve around Tom Brady's arm. But like you've said, if the offensive line is there and he's upright, plug in next guy, I guess.
Well, it'll be interesting to see because besides for Ridley, you also have Shane Vereen out of the backfield. And, well, when given the opportunity, Julian Edelman, and of course when he's healthy, it's kind of showed that he could hang out with the big boys. But the question, of course, will remain until proven otherwise. Can he be the guy or one of the top two guys, which is kind of what it's going to look like if Gronkowski is out with an injury for a significant amount of time. It's going to go down to Danny Amendola and Julian Edelman to see if they can be the guys. And I really don't think that they can. I really don't think. They're very good complementary type players, role players, guys who can play a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and be successful at it simply because they will draw a lot of one-on-ones because the defense is focused on the other big boys. But if they are the guys, if they are the go-to guys, I don't know if they'll be that successful.
Right, exactly. I mean, they took two receivers in the draft. They took a tight end in the draft. I've seen reports saying, does Bill Belichick see the future? I mean, is Tim Tebow going to be the next tight end? Who knows what's going to happen here? But I'm sure that look, I guess the best thing that's going to be for the Patriots is that the AFC East is not a strong conference, and so you have to see how that plays out. See what the Jets look like, what changes Buffalo and Miami have made to them, or do the Patriots kind of survive on a down year? Otherwise, it could be a long, long season. And
something that certainly New England fans, Patriots fans such as yourself, are not used to over the last decade or so, dozen years, and we've come to expect the Patriots to contend. We've come to expect them to make the playoffs every single year. But now, with the U.S. Department of Justice having more tight ends than more starting tight ends and healthy tight ends than possibly the Jets and New England combined, it's a big question as to what's going to be, what the Patriots' future is going to have. And by Tebow's sake, I mean, I certainly hope for Patriots fans that Bill Belichick can see the future. But moving on to the Celtics, what does this mean for them that their coach is gone, and at least it helps in the near future that their players can't bolt as well to the Los Angeles Clippers?
I'm not so sure it does help them. I mean, they pretty much admitted we are rebuilding. It all started with it was a gentleman's agreement between the organization and Doc Rivers that they weren't really willing to spend the $7 million on a team that they thought was going to have the fifth seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs. I mean, that's basically what it came to. And fifth is being generous here. There's big assumptions there on Rondo. And so, I think first of all, for the Clippers, it's a great move. It probably seals up the return of Chris Paul, and it's better than any on-court decision they've made, in years. So, I think Rivers is one of those guys, top 5 guys as far as coaches, or probably one of the only 5 that makes a difference in a game. I don't think head coaches in the NBA make all that difference in game. I think Doc Rivers can. Look, they're going to rebuild. I mean, they're going to try to build, I guess, around Rondo, around young talent. And they're looking at guys like Vinny Del Negro as maybe a possibility. Some people have said Brian Shaw, but of course he's off the table now. I've heard Hollins mentioned. But they don't want to pay a lot of money for a head coach right now while they're in this rebuilding phase. They want to, free up as much cap room. That's why I think they were looking to get rid of either Garnett or Pierce. I mean, there seems to be some interest in Cleveland, from Cleveland and Pierce. But, I don't think they're going to get the number 1 overall pick for Pierce, so that would be a number 1 in the second round. And who knows what else. They're also looking to get rid of some mid-level salaries. But Paul Pierce has to be either paid or bought out by the 30th, by Sunday. So we'll see where they go with that.
Well, isn't it worthwhile? Now, I know one of the things that the Celtics were offered by the Cavaliers was 2 first-round picks. Not the first overall pick, but they have 2 later in the first-round picks as well. They offered that to the Celtics, saying, hey, look, you have to buy him out or eat his contract. Either way, you're going to be paying him at least $5 million. We're offering you a way out here. Isn't that something that the Celtics should kind of bite on because they want to rebuild?
Right. I think, I think they, I think in the end they will take some sort of deal. The problem I think most teams are having right now is that this draft is not that deep and it's not that good from the top. So I think it might be scaring some teams off as far as, this whole, taking picks in this draft. I mean, after the first few, which I don't even know that the first few are that great. I mean, I'm hearing now that the Cavaliers might take Alex Len in the number one spot, and being someone who happens to follow University of Maryland pretty close, I mean, it's shocking to me. He wasn't even the best center probably in the ACC, much less the number one overall pick. But it'll be interesting, to see what they end up doing, because like you said, it's $5 million on the hook for to buy them out, 15 if they don't, and if you're going to change the guard, it really has to start with Paul Pierce, because he's the one that's been through it all. So that would be your biggest indication that everything will change soon.
Oh, we know also, moving on, this is going to be the last little bit before we let you go here. You're a big Yankee hater. You don't like the Yankees much. We know that, the New York Yankees. And what do you make of this whole A-Rod, Brian Cashman version of the Reggie Jackson, Billy Martin soap operas of the late 70s?
I mean, I'm truly, I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit shocked because Cashman, if all these reports are true, what Cashman said, I mean, Cashman has always been a guy that's taken the high road through it all, and basically to tell A-Rod, shut up, and just, we're handling this, is quite shocking, because usually, he would be a lot more PC. I mean, how many people thought there was no way you'd see A-Rod in a Yankee uniform again? It makes for interesting fire, but, the bottom line is the Yankees are still right there at the top, contending with this makeshift team, and, maybe that's the frustration in Cashman's voice. It's like, shut up. We don't need any distractions. Let's just keep doing what we're doing and getting guys healthy. And, A-Rod obviously is A-Rod, so it's all about A-Rod.
Right, and you certainly seem to be the type of guy who is almost salivating at the lips and clicking your heels and hoping and waiting this is going to turn into a next series of I don't know, like the Golden Girls or something like that.
Well, I think it's an interesting story. Of course, my personal bias is that, I don't want A-Rod coming back because I happen to like their third baseman. But it does make it interesting, especially coming off a year where the Sox were good, filled with all of this great drama with Bobby Valentine last year. So, it's about time the Yankees have some for their own. But, we haven't heard from their manager on the whole situation yet, have we?
Well, I don't think he's going to comment on the situation, considering everything that has been going on. And I don't think that he's going to give his 2 cents, because at this point he doesn't need to give his 2 cents.
Right.
Well, Andy, as always, it was fun. It was a good time. And until next time, we'll wish you luck with your success, with future with the books and everything like that. And also maybe the Patriots will surprise, much like the Yankees have thus far this season.
That's right. We'll pick this up again once we see who picks up Aaron Hernandez as free agent.
Fair enough. Andy, thanks a lot.
Right.
All the best.
Be well.
That was Andy from Boston. That was Andy Gershman, author of the book, the sports book, Modern Day Maccabees. When we come back, I don't know, maybe we'll have some Maccabees of our own here. You never know. I'll be right back. Sports Talk, Noise Radio.
Our jobs occupy more than half our waking hours. Shouldn't we be doing something we love? Call Connecticut School of Broadcasting at 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Since 1964, Connecticut School of Broadcasting, with a network of 12 campuses from Massachusetts to Miami, has helped place thousands of grads as DJs, sportscasters, entertainment reporters, behind the scenes in audio and video production, every aspect of the broadcast media. Connecticut School of Broadcasting has trained men and women of all ages and backgrounds in a matter of months, not years. Learn by doing from area radio and TV pros. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to gocsb.com. Remember, it's never too late to love what you do. Day and evening classes begin soon. Get trained. Get connected now.
Welcome back, Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi, here on All Noise Radio, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. What was fun? Last segment we had on Andrew Gershman from representing Boston, author. Can't believe I still keep getting that wrong. Author of Modern Day Maccabees. And one of the greatest things that Andy is able to offer outside of his vast and in-depth knowledge of all things sports related in the city of Boston is, of course, how much he loves to hate LeBron James. And for me, I'm not going to go and say loves to hate, and I know he's going to heckle me on this, but really, even though he says out in the open that he loves LeBron and he thinks LeBron is one of the greatest, but we really know deep in his heart of hearts he does not like LeBron. And, you know, talking about the hate for LeBron, why? Why so much hate? Why so much venom? Why can't the fans all get along together, sing Kumbaya, and say to, you know, LeBron, yeah, he's good. And don't get me wrong. LeBron's a good player. I certainly won't call him great. No way. If you want to get in on the chit-chat here, 856-330-4749, or send me a message, Facebook.com/Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. What I just can't understand at all is the outrage that people have that the San Antonio Spurs did not beat the Miami Heat. Now, I wanted that to happen. I wanted San Antonio to beat Miami. But it didn't. It's sports. It's what happens. You're one missed free throw away. You're 28.2 seconds away from beating the Heat in 6 games and likely disbanding the so-called Big Three. And guess what? It didn't happen. Free throw was missed. The Heat hit a couple big three-pointers, LeBron James and Ray Allen, both. And Game 7 happened. Tim Duncan missed that layup at the end to would have tied the game. And the Miami Heat are champions. Again. 2-time champions. 3rd championship since Dwayne Wade has been a member of the Miami Heat. And one of the things that I keep hearing about people saying is LeBron is the greatest. He's great, this, great. Stop using that word. It's awful. It's like it's got to be the most misused word in the English vocabulary in terms of sports. The word great is a disparage to mankind for how god-awful it's used, how many times, the worst of places, it is used and abused like a cheap hooker. It is just, it's awful. Absolutely awful how blasphemous it is for how often that word is used in the wrong context. Great can only be considered. I mean, God is great. Moses giving the 10 Commandments at Sinai is great. You're telling me that a mortal man, flesh and blood, so-called King James, is great? No. I'm not putting him in that same category as God or Moses or even Martin Luther King Jr. No, LeBron is not in that category. He's not great. Good basketball player, certainly. LeBron being Michael Jordan, the same level, he's getting there, certainly. And what really has made that move, that push for me to believe that LeBron James is on his way, now at 28 years old, having won more titles than Jordan at 28, having won more MVPs than Jordan at 28, having won more playoff MVPs than Jordan at 28. At the end of the day, Jordan played longer than LeBron. If LeBron was to retire right now today, he's not the greatest ever. Certainly not in the same conversation to be considered one of the greatest basketball players ever. Seriously? You're going to tell me that LeBron is, at this point right now, he's going to retire. You're going to tell me LeBron is better than Jordan? You're going to tell me LeBron is better than Bill Russell? You're going to tell me LeBron is better than Will Chamberlain, Clyde Frazier? Come on. Who are we kidding? LeBron right now is a very good basketball player. You want to break down what LeBron did in this series? Yeah, you could argue and say he did something that Michael Jordan never did in any of his finals series that he ever played in. I'll give you that. LeBron, the amount of points, rebounds, and assists that he averaged in the postseason, that he averaged in the finals specifically, yeah, Jordan would give you 45 points in a game off 35 shots. But LeBron may not get you 45, but he'll give you 30 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Jordan? Maybe 1 and 1. Maybe. So the argument can be made about the players. You know, Miami needed LeBron to get rebounds and make make assists. Chicago didn't need Jordan to do all that. All Chicago needed from Jordan was to score. All they needed was for him to push off on Utah Jazz players and to be able to create some space and to drain veer forward, drain open jump shots. That's what Chicago needed from Veer Michael Jordan. And you know what? Michael Jordan certainly went ahead and delivered. That's for sure. He certainly went ahead and delivered that. And he was good at it. Can't argue. I mean, the guy was Michael Jordan for what he was. Plain and simple. I mean, off the court, he was a sleazebag, not a nice person. But on the court, it's great. There you go. I will say Michael Jordan was one of the greatest players to ever play the game. Possibly the greatest player at his position. To score, that is what Chicago needed. Miami needs LeBron to do more than just score. I mean, you look at Chris Bosh. I mean, the guy he's 7 foot. He can barely rebound. And what can he do? He doesn't score, barely can rebound, maybe get you a pass here or there, but that's it. He's not doing anything else for you. Dwayne Wade? I mean, he's a knee away from ending his career. I mean, at this point, people think that his career is basically done. So, where do you have? I mean, you can't say that Ray Allen, you cannot minimize the effect of Ray Allen. He is that good. Yes, he had a record broken from him, most three-pointers made in a NBA Finals series. But he's Ray Allen for a reason. I mean, you cannot ever leave this guy open for an inch, because if you give him an inch, that's an inch too much to see. I mean, he could spot it for a three anywhere on the court and drain it. And you know it's true. So, he's getting a little older. I mean, everybody on the Heat's getting a little older. But where did the Heat go from here? What do? You've got a lot of money locked up in 3 players for the next bunch of years. LeBron could opt out after this season of his contract. I don't think he will. I think he's going to stay in Miami. I think he I mean, who wouldn't want to stay in Miami? I mean, you're there in the winter, it's all sunny skies and palm trees. Seriously. I mean, that's why Shaq went there. And he was coming from California. So there is this allure about South Beach. There's this allure about Miami. And, an overpass or two away from taking off players' heads, all overpasses aside, it's fine. I mean, it's a wonderful place. I go there all the time. It's a nice place to visit. It's a nice place to check out. I'm sure it's a nice place to live, except for when the tourists like me and you come around and invade Miami. But outside of that, it's nice. I understand loving waking up in the morning, sun shining in your face, and going to work. It's a great place. But where do the Heat go from here? They've won 2 championships in 2 years. They've been to 3 finals in 3 years. 2 of the last 3 finals belong to them. But where do they go to get better? And I'm not talking about in terms of Eastern Conference better, because the next closest team to them this past season was 12 games back. They won 66 games this year. So where do the Heat go from here to make that next step, to take that next step where the next team behind them won't be able to catch them, to where the Indiana Pacers won't be able to match them, to where the New York Knicks, the dysfunction as the Knicks are, they can still play. They're the oldest team in the NBA, but they certainly surprised this past season. So the Knicks are going to get better. The Pacers got better. Pacers will continue to get better. Where else? What else? Where does the Miami Heat go from here? What else can they do to make their team better? It's difficult to see. I think for one, you have to get rid of Bosch, because he barely rebounds, barely assists, and he's turned into a very soft European shooting big man. And even though this draft is a little flaky and it's not that deep, but it has a vast amount of talented big men, if for no other reason than the fact that they're tall and they're big and they're not European. So I think that's what the first thing that they have to do is go out and get a big man and get rid of Bosch. And then you have to also you have to get somebody who you can bring in under the wings of Dwayne Wade, because he's one twist or turn on the basketball court from the end of his career. So his knees may not hold up, and you have to be prepared just in case. Is Norris Cole the answer behind Dwayne Wade? Is he? Really? I mean, Juwan Howard's not coming back. He's an older, 40 years old. He's played sparingly here in during the season and the playoffs. It's going to be a good question. It's going to be a lot of fun to see in the offseason. This is where they have to do. They got to get rid of Bosch. They got to bring in somebody behind Wade so he can sit in the wings and learn the ropes from Dwayne. But they got to bring in a big man. That is their number one priority. Maybe it's a TJ McCutcheon that they trade for. Maybe a Cody Zeller. Maybe they even try to get it from Cleveland. They try to get the first pick and bring in Alex Len. Who knows? Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi. Next week, firstly, we got to thank all the guests for coming on. Firstly, we had Andy from Boston, Andy Gershman, author of Modern Day Maccabees, and also all the callers. Next week, we're probably going to have somebody from the championship-winning, Stanley Cup-winning Chicago Blackhawks, so stay tuned. That's all for now. That's Sports Talk with the Sports Rabbi from the Connecticut School of Broadcast, powered by the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, only on All Noise Radio. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and always live the dream.
Honey, again you're sitting here sulking?
I hate my job and I don't know what to do to change it.
Get off the couch and go check out the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
The Connecticut School of Broadcasting? What's that? The Connecticut School of Broadcasting offers a career and lifestyle change through a broadcasting experience you won't ever forget. Log on to GoCSB.com to find out how a career in broadcasting is for you and not just the people you see on TV or hear on the radio. CSB focuses on many aspects of real-world broadcasting, and their knowledgeable instructors teach you through a hands-on approach so you're in the studio in no time. To find out how CSB can help you work in an industry you love, call 1-800-TV-RADIO or check us out online at GoCSB.com.
Why work 50 weeks a year for a 2-week vacation when you can enjoy your job every day?
Don't just sit there. Call 1-800-TV-RADIO or log on to GoCSB.com.
Thanks, CSB.